So let's go to Sector Spotlight and look at some of the leaders to see how they held up on Tuesday. That, of course, will be tech, our favorite of techs, right? So let's go to Apple, closed flat, but saw some big volatility, right? Hit that, 348 level, but then jumped almost $10. I saw about 2 upgrades already today, price target upgrades. Did you go long yesterday?
I did. I am right now on my virtual trade floor. I am long. I was long. I was in and out a few times. I took it home long. I want to add today. We talked about that 348 area. I talked about that descending channel that usually gets retested. It was tested in the first 30 minutes of trading, and then it got stronger throughout the day. I need to show you this chart. This chart right here, charts don't lie. This is that descending channel that started all the way down, went through it, just retested it. I'm in some. I think if Apple starts getting above this 360, you're going to see at least a move to the old highs, which is about 364 for a cash flow trade. And then ultimately, if the numbers come out the way they should and they don't, guide lower, which they usually do too much, we should be seeing a $400 or so number at some point this year.
They're pretty conservative in their earnings guides. But anyway, all right, Netflix closed slightly higher on Tuesday, raising prices, separating that DVD and streaming service into 2 businesses, really to combat how much they're going to have to shell out to actually buy all the movies and TV shows. Is there room for this stock to push higher? I mean, the fact that it's still closed slightly higher on this mixed news, I guess I would say.
Well, Netflix is one the analysts love to hate. For an investor, it's trickier, but the active trader love it. We had that reversal day earlier in the week. It's trying to hold the upper level. This is what I would write down if you were a trader. You have this upper level here. This was a small little push through failure. As long as it stays above this 286, the long momentum can stay there. And if it does then start to get back above 298 or so, we could see a big move through the 300. But right now, I'm going to be a little cautious. This stock is very slippery.
So an investor should also be cautious then?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to Google. Closed up over 1%, reports earnings tomorrow after the close. Now, I know you don't take stocks into earnings, but is there a trade today?
Google has acted very well since it hit the bottom. We had like a short on it when it broke below 520, and then 480 was a target, and then some flipped, and some just said, let me see the new action here, and it's been pretty strong. It's acting better. It's finally showing some Google-esque.
I wonder if you can really believe that Google-esque, though.
It is hard, considering the move that it just had off the low, but it did hold this upper area. What did you say, tomorrow's earnings after the close?
Yeah, tomorrow earnings after the close.
What I usually do, if Google was down here, I probably would have taken some in-the-money calls into the earnings just in case. Now that it's come up about, like $40, $50 off the low, it's a little trickier. But for an investor that has a long-term thesis in Google, I think, and you have the risk tolerance, just stay with it. I think at some point this stock's going to get going. They could use a stock split because it's too expensive for the retail investor. But at some point, it'll get its mojo back. And if they've been in it this long, don't get out of it now. As a trader, I wouldn't take it into the numbers. I would just do in-the-money calls or in-the-money puts, depending which way you want to go.
If Google reports and then the stock sells off, would that also be a good point for investors to get in?
Yeah, sometimes there's much more opportunity after the report than into the report, especially risk-wise. So we will all be trading it probably after hours, after the announcement, and then the morning of, which we'll go over.
All right, so let's close it up here with Baidu and Sina. Baidu closed down 2.5% yesterday, but Sina held up pretty well, just down, only a fraction. Do you think that Sina will pull Baidu up? Or do you think the opposite will happen?
Well, they've been like a tag team in tangent. One follows one day and vice versa, and it switches. This group has been very volatile. It had a huge move further higher off the 200-day than most would have seen, and now it's pulled back. It's trying to break its 10-day, but it's holding there. I'm going to watch both pretty close. I know guys were trying to be long yesterday. If you look at Sina here, what I think is important is this downtrend, is this area that traders could get a nice juicy trade if it breaks, and it's right here. If you look, it wasn't able to do it this last time, but look where it came from. Now, if it were to hold higher and hold above this area, about 106, 107, I think that could be a nice juicy trade through 112, maybe 115, for it to finally get some traction back to the upside. And if that's the case, I'm sure Baidu will be in the same camp. I think as an investor, I'd rather see you in Baidu than Sina. It's just been around a little longer. It's a little bit more trustable. So that's what I'd rather you go with. And for now, we need to turn it over to Alex, who's going to tell us what to look for in the bank earnings.